Hello, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is losing it all. I think that most two-leggeds will have a period where they feel like they're experiencing great loss. For some that may be deeply identified with their work or with their job, they lose that job, they lose the title that goes with the job, they lose the income, and they feel like, well, I've lost it all. I've lost this huge blessing of this work and this thing that I am. If you have an attorney that gets disbarred, or if you have some high functioning label, then you might feel like you've lost it all if you lose a job. That's usually less relevant for low income jobs because there's usually another one right around the corner. But that's one way that might show up for people. Another concept of losing it all can be losing someone you dearly love. I mentioned before, I've lost around 55 people. So for some of you, maybe you've lost, many, many people, and that feels like losing it all. If you've been exposed to war, and if you've watched your fellow mates die in a war, that can feel like losing it all. Or even just an individual person. I've often said my mother is my favorite person in all the lifetimes and all the multiverses and all the expressions of life. One of my deep and constant prayers is that I be more and more like her each day, because she was a great teacher of each individual is the answer and the key and the way that they seek, and that you are a knower. She's just a beautiful soul. And when I lost my mom, I was reflecting on this with someone today. There was a motorcycle accident on the mountain this weekend, and I spent 2.5 hours in a line while they worked to get somebody that had been run over by a car and a motorcycle into an ambulance and have investigation teams come. And it's moments like that where I really feel my graces. I gladly and gleefully wait in that line for 2.5 hours, because on this day, someone is facing a loss greater than I. I will gladly give you my 2.5 hours of time. This gives me the opportunity to pray for your family, to pray for your tribe, to pray for this person and all that love this person, and to pray for their healing path and peace and grace if it's time for them to exit. So I understand that math of feeling a deep loss from death. And I certainly felt that no greater moment in any of my hours of life than when my mom exited. You may feel like you're losing it all if you experience some type of assault, some type of, why is this happening to me? Loss of relationship. Loss of a relationship. Today is an interesting day for me. I marked my calendar. It has a heart on it. There is a gentleman of interest. And I've had my eyes on him for about 6 months. And I've actually even, because we used to work together, I actually even tried to keep myself from being attracted to him. And I went to a coworker and was like, please tell me this man is married, because I deeply notice him. And I'm like trying not to. And my coworker was like, no, he's not at all. And I was like, that is not helping. And then they proceeded to tell me all kinds of amazing things about this man. But today I marked this day because I had expressed, the opportunity for us to go get a tea or a coffee a few months ago, and he never took action on that. And so I could see that as a loss. Sometimes it's someone new that you're keen on. It's not someone you've known a long time, and you can perceive that as a loss. So I marked today as the day that I would stop placing my attention on this gentleman, so that I can move closer to my destiny. And, I think it's hilarious that I could do that, because I'm not keen on someone. They have my undivided attention, and this gentleman is certainly deserving of it. But then today wound up being a day in which we made plans to meet up, and I'm very eager to get to know this soul, this brilliant being that lights up a room with his smile. I'm very keen to do that. And it certainly can feel like a loss when you put yourself out there and you go like, hey, especially somebody like me that feels shy, like, hey, I like you. And then they're just like, they don't reciprocate with action. And there can be a lot of reasons for that. But for me, there is no loss. Like, I trust divinity. I trust my spirit guides. I trust Heather Feather's oversoul, her superconscious mind, her higher self, that which is I am that I am, the tip of the pyramid versus the base of the body and the conscious mind and the lower frequency aspects of me versus that more singular star point of my beingness, that higher perspective, vantage point self. The fact is, I am the jewel in the lotus. I am that which I seek. So how can I ever lose anything? And fundamentally, even if someone decides not to be your friend, decides not to have you keep the job, decides not to keep the relationship with you, decides, and that's painful. Don't get me wrong. I understand these things are painful, but even if somebody crosses over, loss is a concept. It's a frame. It's a frame under which we hold this idea that something can go away. I've often said all relationships are eternal. Why are they eternal? Because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and everything is made of energy. And if you come from more of a reincarnation concept, like I and many others do, then you're going to meet them again. Don't worry. And if they've been unkind to you, they will be given an opportunity to clean it up. And if you've been unkind to any, you will be given the same grace. You can also start in this place, in this moment, in this now. Start holding awareness that you come together and heal that in future paradigms, maybe even in the same lifetime. Infinite multiverses is quite a vast thing. But there's this idea that we can lose something. I've lost my mother. Actually, in truth, when my mother exited her flesh costume, it took me about 2 decades of grieving because I was determined, and I thought I would just grieve my entire life because I was determined to let the heavens know there's no point in my lifetime where this will be okay, that mom's not in the physical form with me. She's my favorite person. She's the coolest, and it's not okay that she's dead. And I was going to just grieve forever to let all my spirit guides, everything in the unseen realm, which is what I mostly connect with, no, this is not okay. This is never going to be okay. And then I realized, like, not only is that very dramatic of me, it stems from a place of me acting as if spirit is not what we fundamentally be. And she is my greatest teacher of that. And why would I deny what she brought into my soul by sharing her beautiful essence with me? And more importantly, why would I deny myself a relationship with her right here, right now? In order for me to commune with my mother, I have to accept that she's not in her flesh costume. I don't get to see her warm, brilliant smile that's always on her face. I don't get to see her freckles, I don't get to see and feel that warm heart essence of her telling me as a grown adult to come sit in her lap so she can hold me. And still, I communicate with her more now, more out of body than I ever did in a body. She is more available to me in a life essence sense in the present moment than she ever could be in her body. In her body, she was often going to Unity Church events and, hanging out with different metaphysical groups and working, and, she had a lot going on. She was a Libra. She was a social lady. And, giving us undivided love, time, and attention, which she was a great steward of. That's what children need, not your money. And she stewarded that teaching well and offered it to many. But she's more available to me now. When you lose a job, you are opening up a vast avenue of opportunity to pursue some new type of work, maybe something that's even more aligned for you. The idea of loss comes from an idea of separation, and it comes from an idea of scarcity, and neither are true. You are now and always have been and always will be subatomically unified with everything that ever is in the living tree. And because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, you will always be connected to it as well. And with nearly 8 billion people, there are a lot of jobs available. And there are opportunities potentially for you to move to a new area, and look at the job market there. You get a job somewhere else and Go do that instead. Try a new area. So sometimes we're opening opportunity. We're getting ourselves out of the box we're placed in and opening ourselves up to opportunity to maybe launch your own business. There are many avenues that can open up when we surrender the past or what has been. And relationships, I think a lot of people in the modern age cling tightly to a relationship that is deeply unhealthy. And this, to each their own. You can do that for as many lifetimes as you want. I am a long-termer, I've said. I am a very monogamous long-term. I seek one hand that I will hold well beyond turning to ash or mold in the grave. One that I will search for when I get to the other plane. And that's it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to try to fit a square peg into a round hole. And if I pursue relationship or union with someone and find them to be physically, mentally, or emotionally abusive, then I'm going to remain, because that's not a life worth living to me. I feel like I've had enough past life experiences of intolerant behavior that I just go, that's intolerable. I'm not going to do this. I'd rather be alone. I don't just seek union for union's sake. I seek union for a lot of reasons. One is that I have much love to give. But if I pour love into a black hole, into a bully, then it's just being crushed and collapsed. It's not actually being offered to the entire living tree by it being received with someone that has a cup of water themselves to share. So I would rather the magnitude of my love that I have to give go somewhere and be extended further out there because it's being expressed. And so, but there are many that will cling. They don't want to lose the relationship they're in. And they've discussed what isn't working and changes aren't occurring. And ultimately, we're not the steward of another. We're not. And so, but people are afraid to be alone. But here's the thing about loss is that foundationally, you are that which you seek. If you think about partnership, there's no greater partner for you than you. Be your own best friend. Be your own sacred union. Get to know your own body and what it seeks. Get to know your own pleasures and that which doesn't serve you and what you do not seek. Become aware of union with you. Become unified with knowing thyself. Who are you? Truly. What is your character? What is your content? What are you made of? What are you about? Fall in love with yourself. Take yourself on dates, Give yourself a bubble bath if that's your thing, and put some candles, some nice incense, whatever works for you, or just whatever is quality time spent with the self. Get to know you. A lot of people are running away from the self. They're avoiding the self. And because they're running away from everyone else. They're just in a constant state of running. And isn't it exhausting? And aren't you so lovely? Yes, you are. So take a minute to connect with your own inner star, to be with you. I think there is a piece here too around understanding this eternal nature. We can go there scientifically by saying energy cannot be created nor destroyed. My nature is one of spirit. I'm very spirit focused, spirit driven, spirit conscious, spirit aware. I connect with divinity on the daily. And I would say, and guides and angelic seraphim and elemental spirits and power animals. And, my life revolves around spiritual connectivity. And once you see how the web is all connected, once you see the way that all the strings are connected, one little reverberation on a single string of the web shakes the entire web. You are such a tremendous influence. So why not focus on the jewel within the lotus? Focus on the star player in the paradigm and really consider that everything that ever moves away from you is only ever leading you to a greater grace, a greater opportunity, a greater blessing to step towards the new. What new is shaking in your web this day? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Amun.